What's good, friends? This is episode 40 of the Gamecast coming at you. The closer we get to the release of both next-gen consoles, the more the rumors on what games we will see on them begin to run rampant. While it's always great to keep your expectations in check and be realistic, it's always fun to lean into the speculation. So, this week, Mike and I talk about which game franchises we both realistically and unrealistically could see make a return on the Xbox Series X. From first-party titles of generations past to beloved third-party staples that took a break this gen, we try to figure out what makes sense in the next 8 years. Plus, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's campaign has been remastered and is available now, but you'll have to wait a bit longer to play it on Xbox One and PC. Also, Rockstar is using GTA Online's popularity to help bring relief to those in need during the current pandemic. All of this and much more on the newest and still quarantined episode of the Game Pass Gamecast.
Now the fun begins.
Rigid.
Stop! You violated the law.
Welcome back to another episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, PC gaming, and more, including news, rumors, and conversations around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get a podcast at, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games alike, our giveaways, and whatnot. With that being said, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travis on most internet platforms, and joining me today, my partner in crime, Mike P-Pack. Mike, what's good, what's going on, and what have you been playing on our second week of quarantined life here?
Basically, the same stuff. However, we've been mixing in some World War Z as a group, so that's been a hell of a lot of fun. So we've been playing a lot of that free game from Epic. Today's the last day, so the listeners are going to miss out on it, basically. Wait, right? Today's the last day? Anyway.
Yeah, we're recording Wednesday, goes up Friday, so yeah.
So they're going to miss out on that if they haven't taken advantage of it yet. It's a really fun game. Kind of scratches the itch that Left 4 Dead leaves you. All things told, it isn't extreme, like overtly deep, and it isn't super storyboard driven. However, as far as just like raw gameplay, the gameplay is really enjoyable on it. It's a lot of fun. So just been playing a lot of that. Other than that, been getting into Halo 2 on the computer on a program called Project Cartographer. So just been playing a little bit of Halo 2, getting ready for when MCC Halo 2 drops. And outside of that, nothing too crazy. Just been streaming a lot of Dead by Daylight and some Oblivion too, mixing in some Oblivion in my streams also. So that's been a lot of fun.
I believe Halo 2 should be getting its flighting here soon, if I remember correctly.
They just released an article. They should be getting that flighting up and running here very soon.
I was going to say like this month or something like that.
Yeah.
And from what they've shown, it looks fucking gorgeous.
Hopefully like immediately, but yeah.
No, but that's great. So just kind of, I know you were kind of mentioned it before, but dig a little bit deeper. What about World War Z is making you want to continuously jump back into that game? Because, it kind of took me off guard. I saw that they put it up on Epic Games Store. I put it out to everybody. I'm like, hey, I know we kind of are always looking for something to play as a group, because we usually have a group of 4 that will always play PC games together. And, that's one of those games that you can do that up to 4 people and do horde modes and campaigns and things like that. But, why that? Why does that drag you back in? I know you mentioned Left 4 Dead. Kind of dig a little bit deeper on that. What do you think the longevity for this is? Do you think that's something that you're going to want to play for, the next handful of months and keep going back to?
I don't necessarily know if it's something that's going to be...
or is it just flavor of the month type of thing right now?
As of right now, it might just be a flavor of the month type situation. Just because it's not very fun to play by yourself or to try to like play with random people. So it just kind of depends on if I'll have a group to play with or not. The content that's available is enjoyable, but I do think that there's like a lifespan on it. So I'm thinking that like when our group stops wanting to play it, I will stop playing it. With all that said, if they release new content and things of that nature, I don't see why it wouldn't be a sustaining gameplay. The multiplayer online leaves a little bit to desire. There's no ranking system. There's no like leaderboards or anything. So it's fun to like get in and kick around on. It's just not something that's like sustainable for me. I'm a person that is super competitive, and while I might not be like an achievement getter anymore, I mean, I used to 100% games. I 100%ed Oblivion on 360, and it was more like the way Oblivion did their achievements. It was like if you played everything, you would get it all type deal. If you did every single quest, main quest, Mages Guild, Fighters Guild, Thieves Guild, Dark Brotherhood, Arena, like if you did all the main side quests and the main quest, including the Shivering Isles, like you were going to get 100%, but it was going to take a long time. So that's why I got 100% on that. But I'm not like an achievement getter, so achievements aren't really doing it for me. I have to be able to have a tangible leaderboard and be able to compare my skill up to other people for me to be interested in games. So I don't think it's going to last. Personally, if they came out with another Horde map, they did a little bit of expansion on the campaigns, I would definitely be involved for a while. But again, it's something that if you don't have 4 guys, it's not quite as fun, you know?
No, definitely. And I mean, just to kind of put some perspective into it on how well, you know, this has been doing. And I usually try to gauge it on, you know, pulling it up randomly on Twitch just to see what live viewer count is right now. Middle of the day, you know, at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, World War Z right now, it has over almost 3,000 people watching it right now. And that to me is pretty good for a game that was free on Epic and had really, in all intents and purposes, dropped off completely from since when it launched. But at the same time, too, I saw it over the weekend, too, and it had, like, well over 10,000 going at one point. I'm hoping that leads to more content from them. I don't know a ton about Saber Interactive, just hearsay things about them. But I hope that whoever's running this game sees that, you know, Epic wrote them a great check to make sure they get a little cash on this end, you know, but it's getting people in that ecosystem that they're trying to build and try to make this be that game that you play with your friends and come back to and whatnot. So, you know, hopefully that it's a, you know, we scratch your back, you scratch ours type of thing, you know, and it seems like right now it's another Epic Games, you know, success story, really. So fingers crossed on that. But on my end, like you've been saying, played World War Z. I've been going back and playing Half-Life 2, just because I've never beat Half-Life 2, and the whole Alex, you know, hoopla and, like, you know, build up around that has kind of made me want to get in and play an immersive sim like that, and, you know, kind of play through that, and it's a quick game. I know back in the day it was like 15 hours to get through, but like people get through it relatively easy in like 5 hours or something. So I've just like whenever I get bored, I'll just pop it on for an hour or whatever, play. But outside of that, just kind of been popping in and out of games. Doom Eternal, like I was saying, the big one that I've been playing consistently is Animal Crossing, which been having a ton of fun with that. But I'm trying to find a game now that I could stream at the same time, since we're, you know, kind of quarantined, and like many people, I want to get back into streaming and doing more video content like that. So I'm trying to figure out what's a good game to stream. I wish we were a little bit closer to our 50th episode, because I know we keep talking about it, but we're kind of planning that around, and being the 14th anniversary of Oblivion this year, you know, doing a big blowout for that, and I even might have a guest lined up for that. So, you know, it could be I'd like to kind of do a Oblivion playthrough around that at the same time, but you know, it's kind of in and out between things. Plus, Final Fantasy VII is already, like, launching early in Europe and Australia, so I'm hoping that may happen for the US, and then I could just jump right into that and start playing that. So, but yeah, it's mostly just finding some things. You know, I've been getting back into playing Dead by Daylight with you, and really do want to get back into playing that, because as tilting as that game can be at times, I really do love it. It's a fun game to kind of pick up and play, and you don't have to necessarily commit all your time to it. You can kind of jump in and out, like many multiplayer games where you need to, you know, if you're playing Fortnite, you need to only play Fortnite for the most part if you want to be ridiculously good at it. And that's like most games. But it obviously lends itself to a more casual audience at times. So, But that's about it on my end for the most part. All right, Mike, let's head into the news here. First one on the docket here, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's campaign is remastered. It's official, and it is out now, kind of. This comes from Matt Perslow over on IGN. As always, link in the description. Go over there, give Matt a click, and help those guys out over there, especially right now. Everyone being quarantined, everyone working remotely from home. Any content, any, company that does content, media relations, anything like that in gaming right now is, like everyone, in a whole new world. So things like that actually really do impact them because they're not able to do as much video content in the studio and whatnot. So, clicks are definitely huge right now. So be sure to go over there, click on these links, get everyone a nice little view. So let's get into it. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Campaigns Remastered is no longer just a badly kept secret. It's out now on PS4, and yes, no Russian is still in it. Modern Warfare 2 Campaign Remastered has an exclusivity period on PS4 and will launch on PC and Xbox One 30 days later on April 30th, although you can pre-purchase now. The remaster has been handled by Beanox and supports up to 4K resolutions in HDR. Activision announced the game today, which was like 2 days ago, at the moment of its official launch. The game remasters the whole Modern Warfare 2 campaign, including the infamous No Russian mission, as well as other fan favorites such as Takedown. As the title implies, this is a remaster of just the campaign, and there's no multiplayer modes included. Purchases of Modern Warfare 2 Remastered also unlock a free underwater demo team classic Ghost bundle for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which provides the UDT Ghost operator skin, 2 weapon blueprints, a weapon charm, new finishing move, voice quip, and animated calling card emblem, and 2 battle pass tier skips. The official launch comes after a couple days of leaks and problems, most notably in Germany. A trailer was leaked due to a listing for the game going live on the German PlayStation Store. Furthermore, it looks like the short duration the listing was live may also have allowed some players to purchase and download the game, as the past 24 hours have been a few streamers playing Modern Warfare 2 Campaign Remastered on Twitch. Streams of the game have seemingly been isolated to German users, and footage of the entire game has been available online. Rumors of Modern Warfare 2 Remastered run further back than just the last couple of days. Recent reports began due to a data mine of Modern Warfare 2019, which revealed the then unknown details about Warzone and a Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. So, while me personally, I've never been a huge COD person in terms of multiplayer and whatnot, that's been well documented on the show, and I've said that. I do remember loving Modern Warfare 2's campaign, and this kind of, shadow drop moment right now during this time period is pretty cool by Activision. That's definitely something great to do. It's great to get the fans right off the bat, especially, if you own Modern Warfare 2, or Modern Warfare 2019. There's too many fucking Modern Warfares. If you own Modern Warfare 2019, you just get it, which is great. But everyone else can just go in and buy it right away. That's pretty good, But to me, that doesn't make up for the ridiculousness that is timed exclusivity for third-party titles and content of any sort that comes from a third party. So, Mike, do you see this trend making the transition to next-gen? Or with what looks like to be a rebounding Microsoft, will we see third-party publishers kind of shy away from console exclusivity deals with their content by bringing it to all platforms instead, right at the same time, seeing that there's no, we don't necessarily, it will hinder us more if we do a timed exclusivity with Sony, given there's so many, Microsoft users again?
I think part of the big thing with Call of Duty kind of getting preferred treatment on PlayStation, obviously Call of Duty's the home of esports is on PS4, so that's a big reason why. I know whenever they made that switch, a lot of reasons went into it, because Ghost was played on Xbox One. The lack of there being actual LAN support on the hardware for Xbox was a huge reason. Also, requiring internet connection to do anything is another huge reason, because even when I was just traveling recently for Halo 3 tournaments, I know in Atlantic City we were trying to play matches. We were trying to play our tournament matches, and Xbox Live goes down. So instead of our tournament matches like being fine, just playing on LAN like they would have been back in the old days, like in Halo 3 and Halo Reach on 360 and Halo 2 on Xbox and Halo 1 on the original Xbox, like the Xbox Live went down and it literally prolonged the entire tournament, the entire losers bracket for hours because, while there wasn't that many teams, they could have just pushed us back till, the next day. They had a certain amount of time that they wanted to broadcast, and they had sponsorships, and like they have these sponsorships, and sure, Halo's in a weird place right now as far as esports are concerned, but they still had people that they had to answer to at the end of the day was when it comes to advertising on the stream or doing things of that nature. They flew talent out, and I mean, I know they're probably not paying premium dollar for the talent that they're bringing in for Halo at that point in time, but they're still bringing talent in from some people are across the country. I know that there was a European guy showing up for a little bit. I don't know. I don't think he was actually there for Atlantic City, but it's just there's a whole mess of reasons why PlayStation took on the exclusivity with Sony. As far as what that looks like in the next generation, I think Xbox is kind of drawing a line in the sand, teaming up with Nintendo as much as they have kind of making some of their games available on Nintendo. I think that they're kind of drawing a line in the sand where it's like, if you're not with us, you're against us. And I think that Microsoft and Nintendo as companies, Nintendo was never one to be in this whole console race or anything of that nature, but Xbox as a company is ready to, Microsoft as a company, rather, excuse me, is ready to kind of distance themselves from this console race and just say, hey, we've tried to compete with Sony. Even when we had the superior console in the Xbox 360, we still lost to the PS3 over time. Like, people are going to go with Sony regardless, but we're not going to be that product that keeps people from playing our games, because they've said their exclusives are going to be on PC. Is it going to hurt their console sales? Absolutely. There's a bunch of guys I know that I play Counter-Strike with that have already said that they're not buying the Xbox console because they already have a gaming PC. Like, why are they going to waste the money on a console? And I can't disagree with them. If Xbox or Microsoft really wants to, well, I think for one, the Call of Duty franchise is in a contract with Sony. Whenever they did the esports thing, they signed a contract with Sony that special DLC or things would be released to Sony before it would be released to other companies.
Right, yep.
So when they get the esports rights, they kind of got the whole kit and caboodle, which is fair. I mean, Sony probably paid up to make them come over to Sony, but the hardware was a big reason too. If the new Xbox has LAN, which based on the mess that they've had through Halo 5, even when they brought their own server, like, they need to focus on getting a system link LAN network on the Xboxes if they really want to make a splash in esports. If they think that their esports are going to be played on PC anyway and they don't really care, that's not going to matter so much to them. So then it's going to be about the money. I think Call of Duty doesn't really care because they're getting a massive amount of money from both companies anyway. And people on PC or Xbox, if they really want to play the campaign that bad, which I don't know why you would, no offense, Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered, that's cool, but go play the Modern Warfare 2 campaign if you really want to.
Right.
I wouldn't pay $60 for the damn campaign again.
No.
That's just me, but I just think that they don't really care. I don't think that they're going to see enough of a bottom line hit for them to really make a change unless their contract runs out. Now, when their contract runs out, maybe they'll discuss this with Microsoft. Maybe they'll say, hey, we're not doing an exclusive thing again. It was cool, but it's just the gaming climate has changed and we're not prepared to do that for you. That's the only way I would see this changing. I just don't think the money's going to be there to really woo them away. And I don't think Microsoft is really concerned with it either. I don't think they really care.
Yeah, no, I agree to an extent.
No, if the entire game was released early, like, I know they got a beta, I know PlayStation gets some cool things.
Yeah,
but like
it's mostly digital content outside of like, so right. For example, like the one that's always the biggest is Destiny and Call of Duty. Call of Duty, for obvious reasons, like you were saying, esports is so intrinsically tied to the PlayStation system with Call of Duty, being that that's the console that if you want to play esport, Call of Duty in a competitive setting, you have to play on PlayStation 4. Bar none. Exactly. That's it. So, that I understand. everything like that. Destiny is where I kind of get like iffy on, where I'm like, okay, now you're just holding back content and it's like exclusive raids and things like that, and I'm like, is a raid going to like really push people to go out and buy a PlayStation 4? I mean, there may be like 2% of gamers that are like, you know what, I you know what, screw it, I'm not waiting a month, I'm going to get a PlayStation 4, fuck the Xbox. Like, are there, I find that hard to see personally, me, but you know, I'm sure there's data to back it up that I guess it's a good thing to go, but like, to me, where I can see the wheels falling off is more media are starting to plant the seeds on, hey, this is bullshit. Like, hey, this is like, media is much more liberal now in terms of actually going out and not being, you know, cookie cutter, and you know, there's much more editorialing and like opinionated responses to things in the gaming like landscape right now. So with as much as shitty as it is, and I'm not a fan of cancel culture or whatnot like that, like, but more games journalists and more like Jason Schreier and, you know, people over on IGN staff and stuff are being more vocal on, hey, this is bad. And whenever we're talking about, you know, millions and millions and millions of, you know, viewers and, you know, accounts follow them, and they're getting that information, that does leave a little bit of an impact, and that's a narrative that they're starting to write. So like, especially somebody like Activision, where Call of Duty is their only franchise really that they put out anymore. I mean, that's it, and it makes money hand over fist. So like, it's understandable by all means, but like, I just am really curious to see how this transitions to the next gen whenever we see things like Microsoft being like, hey, we don't care how you play on our systems, as long as you're in our ecosystem, we're cool with that. We don't care how you play our games, yada yada. And taking a much more PC approach, and PC gaming really being this juggernaut power that it still is, you know, I'm really curious to see if that's going to be something that, you know, in 2021, when the next Call of Duty, the first, like, I would imagine, well, probably 2022 is the first Call of Duty that they'll put out where it's not cross-gen, that they say, okay, like, should PlayStation 4 get exclusive content when Destiny 3 comes out? Well, fuck, I mean, we've got content on each side. Should we take a check from Sony? Well, there's, you know, maybe there's, in terms of consoles, there's 55% PlayStation users, there's 45% Microsoft users. We're annexing 45% of people who could buy our DLC off of this right now, if we just take a, you know, small lump sum off of Sony, depending on how much that is. So, like, I'm just curious to see how that kind of evolves over time. I don't know what to think, to be quite honest. I can see it going both ways. So there's so many variables with it.
It's a crapshoot, but it's a question that's worth asking, just because, like, I just don't understand re-releasing only a campaign.
Yeah, that was a little weird, especially given when they remastered
for $60,
COD 4.
Right?
No, I don't think it's $60.
Whatever it is, it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm curious, how much is it? I don't think it's $60. It is $20. So that's not too bad.
I guess that's not horrible.
No, but still, it's only a, you know, first-person shooter campaign that, while good, is also, you know, over 10 years old now. You know, it's... whenever they put out, at least when they put out Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare's remaster, they gave it the full suite of, hey, we remastered the campaign, we remastered multiplayer, we did much more with multiplayer, there's a whole suite of things you can go in there and do, skins and whatnot. Like, they went through and actually, with a fine-tooth comb, you know, molded it the right way. That is if they came out and said, here's a $60 game, you would at least be like, okay, like, it is a remaster, but you get a shit ton of content there, I guess I get it, you know, type of thing, especially with how bad that year that they packaged it on there with Infinite Warfare, and nobody fucking wanted to play that. So it'll be interesting. I'm really curious to see how this kind of pans out and how actually this performs, even only being $20. I'm curious, especially with, you know, everything going on in the world, so many people being home playing games right now. I'm really curious to see how that kind of transpires. So, Mike, let's move into the next one here. Rockstar to donate 5% of in-game purchases to COVID-19 relief efforts. This comes from Sean Prescott over on PC Gamer. As always, link in the description. Rockstar Games has announced it will donate 5% of revenue from in-game purchases in GTA Online and Red Dead Online to COVID-19 relief efforts. All purchases made between April 1st and the end of May in both games will apply. The initiative applies to regions and countries where Rockstar Games has operating studios, which include North America, the UK, and India. Quote, small businesses have closed their doors in communities who rely on government-provided support that they cannot access or struggling. The road ahead will be challenging, and we want to help where we can, the company wrote on its Facebook. The statement continues, these funds will be used to help local communities and businesses struggling with the impacts of COVID-19, both directly and by supporting some of the amazing organizations who are on the ground helping those affected by this crisis. All things progress, we will share more on these efforts. GTA Online makes a lot of money for Rockstar and its parent company, Take-Two. GTA 5 alone has already sold more than 120 million copies as of February, while Red Dead Redemption 2 has sold more than 29 million copies since its initial console release in October 2018. Meanwhile, audiences for the online component of each is steadily growing, according to Take-Two. In 2017, SuperData reported that GTA 5 had made $1.092 billion in revenue since its 2013 launch, with 78% of that revenue coming from GTA Online in-game purchases. In other words, that's 5% amount. That 5% amount will likely be a lot of money. Intel announced last week that it has committed up to $6 million in COVID-19 relief, focusing on, quote, helping local communities, while peripherals company Razer has repurposed some of its manufacturing lines for the creation of face masks. Meanwhile, if you want to task yourself with a well-endowed gaming PC with helping medical research, you can read about that here, yada yada. Probably scrap that part. But so, while we've been hearing a lot of negativity surrounding companies and people positioned in influential positions, i.e. celebrities and the fucking Imagine video that was going around instead of, actually doing something, just sending a fucking, look at us sitting in our lavish homes singing to you. No, fucking, at least send, $1,000 or something somewhere. Jesus Christ. We're beginning to see more gaming entities take a stand in trying to support those affected by COVID-19. Like the article said, Intel, Razer, there's a lot more. IGN has been doing a lot of, on the gaming media side, trying to figure out ways to raise some money to send over. Kind of Funny has a shirt that they're selling. You can go and buy that, and it's directly 100% of the proceeds go to helping out the COVID-19 relief. So a lot more gaming companies and entities are starting to come into the fold and try to do more positive change. Rockstar makes money hand over fist, hands down, like we've been saying, with its services, especially GTA Online. But with this, do you see this possibly giving kind of a, oh man, sorry, I had to burp.
You're good.
But with this, do you see this possibly giving a boost to both GTA Online and Red Dead 2's player base with their online components, with gamers wanting to get in there and spend some cash, knowing, one, it's going to a great place, and two, also getting something feasible out of it. You're actually, hey, I'm donating my money. I know a portion of this money is probably going to go to helping somebody get out there. Plus, I get something cool. Do you think that's enough to kind of really even get more people in there, especially on the Red Dead side, which has been lacking in compared to GTA Online, and from what it sounds like, kind of disappointing Rockstar and Take-Two a little bit in terms of its online performance.
Yeah, it's kind of like a win-win for Rockstar, right? Mm-hmm. People spend more money, you make more money, and then you give and you generate positive media for yourself in this case. Mm-hmm. I definitely think I don't know. I guess when I am making buying decisions, if I know that it's going to go to a good cause, like if it's not going to go to a money pit, mm-hmm. then I guess I might be more prone to purchase. I think this is they'll see a bump. I mean, I think you'd be remiss to say this isn't going to affect people's decisions at all. Mm-hmm. I think it might not generate very many new customers, but if someone's playing Red Dead Online and they've been eyeing up something and they're like, do I really get the value from it? And now that they're donating some of the money, obviously you might be more enticed to make that purchasing decision. Of course, I say all this saying that I like to make educated decisions, not to money pits. Yet I continuously buy things from 343, so you might want to take that with a grain of salt. However, I digress. That definitely, I think it's like, so if a company like EA did this, it would be like putting a Band-Aid over a, like whenever SpongeBob keeps telling Patrick that he's good when he's backing up that boat, the Flying Dutchman's boat, and then at the end there's just nothing left to the boat.
All right.
If EA does it, it's like putting a Band-Aid over the fact that the entire hull of your boat is gone.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's like people are pretty much fed up with Rockstar's bullshit, but now that Rockstar's going to donate some of the money, you might be like, it's not as big of a deal. Like my wireless carrier, T-Mobile, is trying to donate $500,000 to coronavirus relief. It's a no-brainer. It generates good publicity for you. Mm-hmm. Your customers trust you more, or your customers are more proud to be your customer. And then all kinds of good media kind of spin from that will boost your customer base. Mm-hmm. So it's like right now you're in business 101. Okay. You're, as a person, if you are listening to this podcast and you don't listen to economics podcasts, I don't even do that myself. That might be something I'd be interested in. I need to check out. Mm-hmm. Or someone who's, even if you're an economics major, but this entire coronavirus situation is perfect for the person who is uninformed on economics and doesn't understand how government works. If you are a person that you checked both of those boxes, you just kind of fly by life and those two things to you don't care. Pay attention to what companies you support and what they're doing with their money. Because if they're not donating to coronavirus release, what the fuck are they doing? Yeah. Two, pay attention to what
don't worry. They'll send you ordered one thing at fucking Gap like 10 years ago, but they're sending you a goddamn email. Hey, we're just checking in on you, making sure you're okay. No, Gap, fucking donate some money. Donate, exactly. Like, instead of doing that, or if you're going to do that, be like, hey, we realize times are tough, but we really appreciate your business down the line. Here's a 10% off coupon or something. Don't fucking, like, be like, hey, how are you doing? No, donate some money or help us, like, ease the burden when I want to spend my stimulus check. Say, hey, come spend it with us. Here's 20% off. Anyways, continue. I just think that's fucking hilarious that, we see so much recently, and this is a total tangent, but we're seeing like every company you've ever bought anything for. Hey, we're just checking in on you. Hey, don't worry. I know this will probably go into your spam folder, but hey, we're just checking in. We're making sure you're okay. No, you want to check in? Fucking like give me 20% off or some shit. Like
exactly.
That's checking. Or even better, donate some of your money to help relief. That'll help a lot. That could actually that would make me feel much better. That I'm like, man, I'm happy I supported that company. I'm glad I bought those jeans at Gap like 10 years ago or whatever.
Right.
I don't think I've ever fucking bought anything at Gap, but
one of the things that comes to mind with the companies is like a company like, let's say like you've shopped at Old Navy, and if you haven't shopped at Old Navy, you're either an overprivileged white boy or overprivileged boy period or girl that has always shopped at, whether you shop at designer or you spend a lot of money, if you shop at Macy's or you shop at designer stores that I didn't even know existed until I went to Vegas. I went to Caesar's Palace and saw all the sugar babies with their sugar daddies, or whatever, if it's not your style. But pretty much everyone's bought stuff at Old Navy. Like I can go in there and buy a pair of gym shorts and a workout shirt for like $15 combined. Like that's great. They're always offering 50% off sale this, 50% off sale that. Something that they could do, like, what's something they could do with an email? They could say, hey, nothing we are selling for the next month is going to be on sale. However, if our jeans were 50% off, instead of being 50% off, 50% of the proceeds go to coronavirus support. Stuff like that companies could do that you should be paying attention to as a consumer. Yeah. Another thing is like how the government's treating us. So they're giving us $1,200 to basically tell us to go fuck ourselves. Cool. Like I might build a new computer with that. I'm not 100% sure with what I'm going to do with my stimulus check. But you need to be paying attention to these things because even if you are uninformed, the coronavirus situation and what your senators and representatives are voting for, it is so easy for you, if you've never spent any time studying the government, to say, hey, my senator did this. I'm not too fucking cool with that. Well, guess what? Fuck that senator and vote someone else in. You don't have to sink hundreds of hours into research to decide what your ideal candidate is. If you think that they've reacted to coronavirus inappropriately, there's your reason good enough, you know? Like, it's a great time for you to become easily, like, so, you know, let's stay topical. You know, let's talk about exponential growth, because that's all anyone talks about with coronavirus. And if you haven't studied exponential growth in relation to coronavirus, I implore you to go do so, because we're experiencing it every day in America when people are like, cases have gone up 1,000. Well, yeah, if you read about exponential growth, you understand with diseases like this, that happens. Not only are people being tested, but it's spreading like wildfire. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Shocker.
Your exponential growth. Okay. So let me put it to you this way. There's an x-axis and a y-axis, right?
Mm-hmm.
X goes across, y goes up and down. You've learned this. Everyone that listens to this podcast learns about this thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so exponential growth. You don't even have to have calculus to know that you're either going to be getting closer to zero infinitely or infinitely getting more and more high, right? Like the graph is going to come out and then it's going to spike and it's going to go forever.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say time is on the x-axis and knowledge is on the y-axis. Your time sink into learning about economics, learning about government, learning about everything that's going on with the world. The amount of time you have to put in, that you know, smush the curve that they're talking about, your exponential growth curve of knowledge, you can put an hour into learning, and your curve, instead of you having to get out to 20, 30, 40, 50, 500, 1,000 hours before you see that huge exponential growth in your knowledge on something. It is like, sit there and study for an hour about what companies are doing and how the economy is reacting, and your growth curve is going to spike like after an hour. Like, we are at a time where everyone, whether you like to agree or not, everyone learns about things on exponential curves. Some people's exponential curves spike a lot sooner than others. That's the way nature is. If you've ever gone through school and you're like, God damn, that Mark Polcha, that kid fucking learns everything at the snap of a finger, and it takes me forever. His exponential curves are much, much shorter with certain things than yours. Guess what? His exponential curve is still going to be much shorter, but yours is going to be as short when his was like at normal. That's what your exponential curves are going to be like. You can spend very little time studying, and everyone already is doing the hard work for you. Everyone's crunching the numbers. Everyone's doing the calculus, the linear algebra, the abstract, all the high level math. It's all being done for you and plotted on a curve. All you have to do is spend a little bit of your time to go learn, and you are going to know more than someone who's lived for 20 years and studied it for 20 years, because if they were a doubter that something like this couldn't happen, you're going to be on the exact same learning curve, and they've spent 20 years of their life sunk into it. So just do the right thing, do a little bit of research, because it's all there for you, and you're going to learn at such a high rate. But bringing it back to Rockstar, every company that's doing stuff for coronavirus relief, this is such a no-brainer that if they're not, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing supporting this company? Yeah.
No, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you really do. That's, to me, like you were saying, I see this going both ways, that, you know, it really, or I should say, I can see it being a benefit to both sides. Hey, we're going to put this out, and hopefully, since GTA is such a reaching brand as it is already, that it transcends every other, you know, avenue that's out there of media for the most part. It's the most profitable, you know, media entity ever, period, like, or brand or whatever it is, you know. So I would honestly think people see that, they're going to hop in. Oh, fuck, I haven't played GTA in so long. I'll pop in, I'll throw $10 in there, buy some money, and buy a house or whatever like that, you know. So it wouldn't shock me if both sides go up. But like you said, more importantly, you hope that it's, you know, you're going to look at this and we're going to see which companies are on the right side of history and not. Really, realistically, on both an economic scale and just morality, I guess, too, if you want to throw that in there. At least I think so, but
I agree 100%.
So, but Mike, let's move into the last news article here. In Exile, one of the newest first-party studios for Microsoft that was bought in 2018. In Exile's post-apocalyptic RPG, Wasteland 3 delayed until August, which was actually a pretty, in the Xbox community, an anticipated first-party title that was coming up here. This comes from Matt Wales via Eurogamer, as always, link in the description. I almost said Matt. Wasteland 3, the post-apocalyptic tinged squad-based RPG from developer In Exile will no longer release in May as originally announced and is now due to arrive in August. In Exile originally set a May 19th release date for Wasteland 3 on Xbox One, PS4, and PC, but the developer today announced a new launch date of August 28th, citing the logistical challenges arising from coronavirus-related home working as the reason for the delay. Quote, As with most companies, we moved to a work-from-home environment some weeks ago, explained studio head Brian Fargo in a statement posted on Twitter. And that, of course, introduced challenges that many of us throughout the world have been learning to manage. We've been excited to see the Wasteland 3 beta so well received, but the reality is that with these new logistical challenges, our release was going to be impacted. Fargo says the studio will use the additional months of development between now and August to optimize, polish, and refine Wasteland 3 to act on beta feedback and suggestions, and to ensure we have an awesome co-op experience, he's quoted. Quote, we're pouring our hearts into this game, he continued. And the last thing we want is to have anything but an amazing launch for the product we truly believe in. Wasteland 3, which unfolds in a snow-ravaged post-apocalyptic Colorado, which originally announced in 2016 and raised over $3 million in crowdfunding shortly after. It's been a busy few years for In Exile since then, not least because of the studio's acquisition by Microsoft. So this was really inevitable in terms of, not just Wasteland 3 and Exile's new game coming out, but more games are going to be delayed. I mean, it's obvious. Even if some teams like, CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077 have been able to work remotely, internet speeds, technological limitations, the actual virus attacking employees, it was just bound to happen. There's too many variables that will hinder something like this and hinder, logistical aspects of game development. So, Mike, do you think franchises like Wasteland and even, the still rumored Fable, the newest entry coming in there, who were looking to have these fresh releases, on Microsoft, knowing even though Wasteland 3 is coming out on PS4 as well, kind of like how The Outer Worlds, whenever, who did, Obsidian, drawing a fucking blank. Yep. Kind of like when Obsidian got bought by Microsoft, they already had an agreement to to release The Outer Worlds on PlayStation 4, and Microsoft said, yeah, that's fine, all good to go. Kind of like this, same deal. They're a first-party studio. It's being treated as a first-party release, but it'll still come out on PlayStation 4 because of those publishing agreements and whatnot. But with that being said, these franchises that we're looking to have kind of a fresh start. Hey, we don't have to worry about going paycheck to paycheck or anything. We always know money's going to be in the bank under Microsoft. Same with Playground Studios. Like we keep talking about this, hinted Fable, this rumored Fable, next gen release. With these with these delays, do you think that'll hinder their market attraction? Will that, the potential excitement that's around these, will that have passed that moment that they're looking for? Like, hey, we launch and we're a moment in the gaming sphere that people are looking at this game and we're making an impact. Do you think because of these delays, some of these titles could get, thrown in the backside and not really remembered or even forgotten about?
I think if you, as a company, you have a certain deadline picked because you think, I don't really know why a company would choose certain release dates. Doom choosing March like they did, Resident Evil.
Well, they did have April. November, and then Doom got bumped to March, but that's a little different. Yeah.
Sure. So games that are planned to be released and not delayed, I don't know what kind of stuff goes into that. If you're hoping to potentially capitalize on a certain time frame, like May, tax return season or something, I can get it. You might be worried that delaying it, people might not have. I don't know if it's because people aren't going to have money or if it's just not a good. Releasing a game in August feels like you'd be releasing it in Siberia. It's summer. The kids are out. People are on vacation. People are getting ready to go back to school. That just doesn't seem like a great time to drop a video game. November, you have the holidays coming up. Kids are on break from school pretty soon. All of a sudden, it seems like a much better time. I don't think. I mean, it's just such a crazy situation going on worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. I don't think you can kind of. I know there's people out there that can predict how consumers or how people are going to react to things of this nature. It's not good how people are going to react to the worldwide pandemic that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can really. It's just such an unforeseen situation that you can't plan for this, and you can't even begin to predict what is going to happen with something like this for your sales.
Yeah.
I think if we are being stimulated, if we are getting handed money from the government, which needs to happen,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it won't matter when it's released. If people are home, they're going to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
If people are just getting back to work, people are trying to catch up on bills, things of that nature.
And you got to think just from a societal standpoint, people are going to be going out. They're going to be even if they're like, fuck, I'm low on money, people are going to be like, I need to get out of the house. I need to go to a bar. I need to go to a restaurant. I need to go to, just go out and in their mind support the economy, but going out and just getting out of the house because we're going to be stuck in here for at least another month on our end.
Right.
So I'm kind of in the same boat that I think there's the only worry I have with, and August is a good month still. That's the end of summer, and speaking, looking at Wasteland here. To me, if you ask me, and this is just somebody who is looking at this as a gamer first, not somebody who, somebody who covers Xbox from a journalistic standpoint, I guess, if you want to say, or a media standpoint. I'm looking at this as, hey, I definitely want to try Wasteland 3 out. I'm glad, though, it's away from May, because when I think of May, I think of The Last of Us Part 2. Hands down. I mean, that's coming out. That's going to destroy sales records for PlayStation. That's going to be, knock on wood, hopefully one of the most well-received games. It's one of the most highly anticipated games of the past 10 years. Like, it's a juggernaut, and I wouldn't want to get in the way of that. So, to me, and even though, we're looking, it's released on the 19th, or originally released on the 19th, Last of Us the week after, it's still in that window, that buffer week between, as a fan of that and wanting to see In Exile, who has been, had to fundraise for this game, had to do a, Kickstarter plan for all intents and purposes. I think August does better, because by then, people are hopefully, just in general, looking at this from, things have gone back to normal and society's kind of going back to its normal, way of things. I'm looking at it thinking, okay, we could probably, we're launching at that, kids are going back to school. That's at least a good time of, hey, the 18 to 35 demographic, the college student has their money saved up. That's right whenever they're going, they're not as pinched on money to say like, oh, I just finished my summer jobs, I got all my money, yeah, I'll go out and support it, I'll go and buy it, whatever, I'll take a risk on it. And thinking too, that's going to help, whenever October rolls around with sales and stuff, because it's still a newer game and will still hopefully be on that, hey, this game's only 2 months old and here it is at $30 now or whatever. I think that will help with their sales. If it goes any later, that's where I get a little bit worried. Because then you're running into, Cyberpunk's in September. That's going to be another juggernaut. That's going to break sales records, you would hope, and potentially, if The Witcher's any inclination, it's going to be reviewed very well. Anything after that, you're looking at another Call of Duty. You're looking at Halo Infinite. You're looking at potentially another Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, supposedly. That I keep hearing 2020, but I don't think, this may have thrown some things off, obviously, with the illness going around. So I think it's okay, but anything after that is where I get worried, and anything really before that is where I get really worried. But I think August is going to be okay for them. I think they'll still be able to get kind of a excitement built around it, especially because Microsoft could then kind of position it as, hey, we're going out with a bang, we got this game, and this game, and then Halo Infinite's going to lead us into next gen. So, like, at least there's a trajectory that, Microsoft can look and say, hey, for the next 3 months, Xbox gamers have it made, man. They got you got a brand new first party title coming out each and every month, type of thing. I think they'll be okay. It's whenever potentially we look at the future, like Fable, that potentially getting pushed and things like that, that could also mess up with, whenever Xbox does their, new, I'm sure they're going to do it with Inside Xbox, but their Xbox Series X presentation that they were going to do at E3, you would imagine they're going to talk about Fable there, or at least bring it up and say, hey, it's real, here's an announcement trailer type of thing. That could be pushed. That could be gone. That could be
absolutely
saved. I mean, look at Bethesda just announced today that they're not doing an E3 presentation for the first time in a handful of years because of what's going on, because of probably Starfield got pushed a little bit. It probably, whoever it was putting together the E3 trailer it probably, due to working remotely and whatever, they don't think they're going to be able to get it done within the next 2 months. So,
I know,
and even a demo of it, because I keep hearing Starfield's possible for 2020, like launching, not alongside, but in the launch window of, next gen consoles. So, that's a huge undertaking, one, but on top of that, that's a huge undertaking to, you would imagine, have an E3 demo, and those are nightmares from what I've heard.
Yeah.
So
I know, like, as you're speaking about it, per se, like, let's say Bethesda, I know they have a office in Austin, and then they have the Austin in Bethesda, Maryland, obviously. So an area like Bethesda, Maryland, you're so close to the Virginia border. I know Virginia has extended their stay-at-home order already through May. So you're talking about, yes,
I didn't realize it was through May. Holy shit!
They're at home until June 1st, at least as of now. Things can change, clearly. So you're talking about some of those employees might be living in Virginia instead of Maryland for a whole. We won't get into it why you would live in Virginia over Maryland. They're two very different states. We'll just put it that way as far as taxes, laws, things of that nature. So with Virginia being in stay at home with risk of fine until at least June, you're looking at like games that are, whether it's close to done or not. I mean, they're just getting 2 months, and this started in March. They're getting 3 months pride from them. So all this kind of culminates into a pot of bullshit for everyone. And if you're a gamer and you were looking forward to game releases, it's definitely raining on you now too, just like everything else.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I know I keep saying it. It's just going to be interesting, man. We're literally in unprecedented times, and it's just going to be it's so hard to like pinpoint certain things. Like, I mean, covering and being around the gaming industry now for a few years, like, I have a good beat on when certain things, I could expect certain things. And this in general, just for life, this is a first time. I mean, this is, nobody who's alive right now hasn't experienced it, and nobody who was here for experienced polio really is going to be around now. So it's like, this is such an unprecedented moment in history that it's weird to think about, that we are living a chapter in a history book right now. And video games sometimes should be the last thing on our minds, but I think at the same time, this is such a great moment for gaming, because this is already, we're seeing every NBA player out there is like, fuck man, I want to stream. How do I do that? I want to play some games online. Ninja, hit me up. Like, you see all these NBA players, NFL players, you see celebrities talking about Animal Crossing.
I know Mitch Marner from the Toronto Maple Leafs played on stream with a popular YouTuber. He goes by Nasher, and his Twitch is Nasher also. He does all kinds of stuff with NHL, and I know he did a dual stream with Mitch Marner, and then he said on his stream last night when he's streaming NHL 20 that Mitch Marner's been hitting him up for stream settings and tips and tricks and stuff. So a lot of these celebrities are making the switch to Twitch, which maybe next week we can talk about how damaging that is to the Twitch sphere for common people, because celebrities already have how many eyes on them, and now they're streaming. Now who isn't going to watch someone like, I don't know, let's say you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan and you love Mitch Marner. Why would you not want to watch Mitch Marner over someone else? Like,
right.
You get to now send chat messages that he could read. Like, it's offering an access of people can access these celebrities in a never before seen way. But again, that might be a topic for a different day.
Yeah.
But it's a crazy world right now, and I know that term's being overused, but I don't think it's something that can be overstated. I don't think you can say things are crazy right now without no amount of, I could sit here and say it for the 2-hour show. Boy, the world's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, the world's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, the world's really crazy, and it would never be enough.
No, absolutely not.
So
no, we're living in unprecedented times, but I think gaming is really, people are gonna, the little doubters who are there are really gonna see the power of gaming, I think, in this, because it's really been such an escape for anybody at the base level, who's been interested in it. So, Mike, let's get into our big topic for the day. And I was thinking of stuff because we talked about games that we should play when in quarantine last week, and I'm trying to keep it on the same topic of, not complete pie in the sky type things, but, I definitely want to talk about that. And the reason I say that is because, one, the hype in general, people love talking about the hype, what you would love to see, things like that. But, recently there was this kind of pie in the sky, too good to be true type of rumor going around regarding Konami licensing, if I could talk, out. And I've struggled to talk today. I don't know if it's just I'm so used to, like, during the day when we record, it's usually I'm at work earlier than that, and I'm talking to people. Like, now it's like, this is probably the first, like, outside of, like, talking to a few people in the house, like, this is the first, like, interaction I have with people for the day. So, like, my mouth needs to, like, catch up to it. But, they were licensing out, there's supposedly a rumor going around that Konami could license out the IP rights to Silent Hill, the survival horror game franchise. The Kojima canceled Silent Hills project, which was in that universe additionally. And the big one, Metal Gear Solid, to Sony to develop these titles exclusively for the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation family of systems, I guess, if you want to say. And while that sounds absolutely awesome, at the same time, me personally, I feel it's a little bit too good to be true, especially even Konami came out and said, hey, just want you to dispel this, these rumors are false, which, a lot of companies will come out and say, even though it could be true and they just don't want to reveal it yet. But they said, when they did come out, they said, we do care about these franchises, they just won't be going forward like this in this output, like you were saying, so basically saying there's something in development, we just don't want to talk about it yet. But, at the same time, that does feel too good to be true. So today I kind of want to talk about both, I guess. Let's think realistic, and let's think wild, baby. Let's think wild as we talk about games and series we want to see make a return on the Xbox Series X going into next gen. So I want each of us to give at least 3 games each that realistically could happen, and 3 games that are a bit out there, that are stretches. Some would say unrealistic. So, and I want you to tell me why. Just, hey, this is why I think it will happen. This is why I think this is crazy, but could still be cool if it could happen. Give me your elevator pitch for it. So, 3 that you think are realistic, 3 that you don't, but you would like to see it happen still. So, Mike, why don't you kick us off here with a realistic pick?
Okay. I think I'm going to start first with a game that we are familiar with, and those who might be a little younger or might not be that familiar with original Xbox games would not know. So this game that I picked is Amped.
Nice.
So basically, the game is a snowboarding game. It started out with Amped 1, was a pretty solid game, a little realistic. Amped 2 kind of turned up the arcadiness of it, and basically your objective was, it was basically like a Tony Hawk game. You would just kind of go on a mountain. You had a high score challenge. You had a media challenge. You could knock off, you could kill snowmen. Like, they had snowmen built, and you would run into them, and you could get challenges for that. There were photo shoots, sponsor runs. Like, it was a pretty cool game, and it was basically like Tony Hawk just on the mountain, right? There were some freedoms taken by Amped that, by the company in the design of Amped that made it amazing. And I think with the Tony Hawk series seemingly returning, it seems like they're definitely going to get remastered, it sounds like, and there might be new games in the works. And I think companies have now figured out that simulation extreme sports, they're marketable, they work in a game like Skate, but people really enjoyed just the straight up arcade insaneness that Tony Hawk and Amped provided. So I think with a lot of this data kind of gathered, I think it's a perfect time for a game like Amped to come out of the woodwork, and basically take the arcade style that it had and sprinkle in story-driven elements with different challenging runs. And a game like this in today's climate would be amazing. I think it's realistic with the Tony Hawk games seemingly coming back. It's a game that's been dormant since Amped 3 for the Xbox 360 was released, which it was like a 2007 release, like an old game. So Amped would be my one that I think we could see come back with Tony Hawk starting to come back.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
In the snowboarding genre, I mean, I don't know that you would call it a genre, but the sport, it doesn't really have any. I mean, they had that Steep game and it did okay, but like, it just seems like there's a opening there. Steep was
far too simulation.
Right.
I mean, I played it only a little bit. I've heard good things about it. There's an audience for it. But it's not arcadey. Like, Amped was arcadey. Amped was the answer to Tony Hawk whenever, 1080 became defunct for the most part on Nintendo. And outside of that, what was the EA Sports big titles that came out? SSX. You don't see any more SSX games. Amped was that response to Microsoft for their extreme sports, quote unquote, extreme sports from 2000s. That was their response for that. But Amped was always more arcadey. Like, it wasn't, cartoony necessarily over the top all the time, but it was arcadey. It was like it was basically like Forza Horizon, the series, like that, compared to Forza Motorsport, where that's the simulation driving game that is the, Gran Turismo-esque response, where Horizon's more of, hey, you're going from one place to another, like, kind of almost not Cruising USA over the top, but, like, you're going off crazy jumps and doing all kinds of different things through the areas. Like, it's poppy, it's fun. Like, that was their answer to that. But, yeah, with you saying that, like, Tony Hawk, like, I keep hearing more and more, like, there's something in the works with Tony Hawk. Something's happening.
It's like, it is the worst. It's like one of the worst kept secrets. And maybe not as bad as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. Yeah. But it's literally so obvious that it's happening that it's like, I don't know why they don't just say, yeah, it's happening.
So, I'm going to I was going to give a realistic one. But you kind of like led me into one of my unrealistic ones. With kind of saying that. And one of my unrealistics, which might surprise you, because you probably say, why not? That's pretty realistic. Skate. I'm putting that as unrealistic and unlikely because EA has had every fucking opportunity ever to release Skate. Their fan base wants Skate. Like, you go on there, you look at any, like, EA, like, published function, like, whether it's their EA Play during E3, whether it's public, I don't know, random EA, like, streams, things like that. Everybody in there, you'll just see random times spamming Skate 4, Skate 4, Skate 4. Like, their fan base actually wants it. That's a game from EA that people are asking for. Usually with EA, all you hear is negativity outside of Jedi Fallen Order, because that was a fucking smash hit. And Apex, too. Apex has been doing great. Shocker, they're both from Respawn, because Respawn's fucking great. But, that's the one franchise from EA that you continuously hear that people are just positive. Like, we want Skate. Give us Skate. We'll pay for microtransactions. We know what we're getting with EA in 2020, but we want it. We still want it because that game meshed so well with the, hey, you have complete fine-tune control over your skateboard, but at the same time, you're still doing some Tony Hawk shit. You're still having that customization. You're still having that kind of over-the-top sets that you're doing and different things like that, and spots that you could hit. It's the fact that they haven't even talked about it. And on top of that, too, I believe it was later last year, because we covered it on the show, the Skate trademark went out of date under EA, and they didn't renew it right away. So, to me, that says, one, yeah, they were eventually going to renew it, because they could always put out a remaster, and they're still selling, I think, Skate 3. I think I saw it at Walmart, like, kind of like how they have the 360 Xbox One, like, backwards compatible games that they'll just put out at Walmart in the, like, 360 box with Xbox One on it type of thing. So that was one of them. I know Skate, I think actually all three of them, Skate 1, 2, and 3 are at like Walmart for that. But point being, like, they'd still have that, but they weren't overly like, right to get on it. Like, hey, let's go. I just think the fan base for Skate has been so vocal about it and wanting it for so long that it just, like, to me, just completely, they kind of blew it. Like, I think they're going to get to a point where people are just like, fuck it, I don't really care, do whatever you want type of deal. But,
yeah.
But I pray that if a Tony Hawk game does come out, which it's going to from what it sounds like from Activision, Tony Hawk, they release a remaster or whatever that is miles better than Tony Hawk's Persia Vr 5 that they put out that was a dumpster fire like 5 years ago. They put out a remaster, people get that itch to play a skateboarding game again, then they really push for it, and EA sees dollar signs next to it, and they're like, oh fuck, we could put this out and we could microtransaction everything. And guess what? People would still buy it, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so
they wouldn't care.
But they'd be happy that Skate's actually a thing again. So I'm putting that actually as unlikely, and I feel like we would have actually seen something by now. But we'll kind of do. How about this? We do like a snake draft type thing. So I'll do a realistic one next, and then you could do unrealistic.
Okay.
My one realistic that I do see making a return, just because it's been hinted at so much and it's been dormant for. Well, they did put out a remaster type thing on Xbox Live Arcade, I believe, in like 2010. But point being, it's been a fucking long time. I think we see the return of Perfect Dark. And I know we kind of talked about that on our episode about the Initiative and what they're doing, because a lot of people keep saying the Initiative, they're doing Perfect Dark. I think that's too easy of a soft toss. Plus two, Rare is still a thing. They're doing games. Right now, Sea of Thieves just got re-reviewed on IGN, and they gave it, I believe, an 8 or a 9. So they're doing great things right now. A lot of people are playing that. Summit 1G plays that all the time. So, like, Rare's doing very well right now. I part of me would say, because Rare is relatively small, that I could see them dishing it out to somebody. But I would like to see Rare do it, but at the same time, I think we'd get a much different game if we let Rare do it. If Rare would do Perfect Dark, I think it would be much more cartoony, when Xbox right now, which I'm not being like, hardened shooter, we need we need big kids games, blah, blah, blah. No. We've said multiple times on this show, graphics don't really fucking matter. It's a gameplay. I don't care how it looks. If it's fucking fun to play, if it's on a mobile device, I don't really fucking care. If it's fun to play, it's a great game. That's, to me, what's more important. Is it fun to actually commit time to? But what Microsoft does need right now is the first party, even if they do change the first party, they change it to third-person perspective, over-the-shoulder, narrative-driven games. You have an IP in Perfect Dark that at least has a toe in that water that they could take. It's a more serious nature comparative to Banjo Kazooie and Jet Force Gemini and shit like that they were known to put out, and Sea of Thieves. Giving that to the Initiative or whoever in their stable of first party studios now, there's too much smoke for there not to be a fire. I think we do see the return of Joanna Dark. I think we see a new Perfect Dark. I wouldn't be shocked if it's in the next 2 years either. Like, if by 2022 we played a Perfect Dark game on Xbox Game Pass. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer that we see Perfect Dark. I hope the Initiative's game isn't Perfect Dark in a way, because that seems too obvious for me. But at the same time, I wouldn't be disappointed, because they got a lot of really, really talented people at that studio right now. Former heads of Insomniac Games, a ton of people from Sony Santa Monica. Like, they've gotten the right people there that have experience in that genre of narrative heavy first party games that I really think that could be a special game if they do it right. But to me, it's a no-brainer that Perfect Dark is going to be seen again on Xbox Series X. It's one defunct Xbox exclusive IPs out there that still has some namesake to it.
Okay. I used a I used Perfect Dark Zero as a game that wasn't going to come back. So I'll give you my unlikely pick. I'll use Perfect Dark for my unlikely, and I'll
and that's totally fine. We could have. I'm cool with that too, because I did see one of yours that you post on there, and I almost put it as one of my unlikelies, but I ended up going a different direction. But no, by all means, that's totally fine. Why do you think it'll be unlikely?
Okay, so let me give you the whole spiel.
Okay,
I kind of ruined it, so let me just give you the whole spiel I had written down.
Okay.
So for my unlikely pick, I'm gonna go with Xbox Video Chat Japan only. Okay. No, seriously. What the fuck are you doing, Rare? I know. They've made Sea of Thieves. They primarily worked on the Kinect for Xbox 360, and they're developing something for Series X. But it ain't gonna involve Joanna Dark. Talk about how insane a more modern Perfect Dark Zero would be. We can only dream. How can these devs have gold mines waiting under them and just ignore them? That's kind of like what I had written for why I think Rare should do it. Why I think they won't do it is it's been dormant for a long time. They did adapt Perfect Dark from 360 to arcade, like you said, but the Perfect Dark Zero game that they made for 360.
Oh, wasn't that a launch title? Actually,
yes.
I have that. I bought that. Really, I had it at one point back like a long time ago, and I don't know what happened, if I traded it in or what, because if I remember correctly, it wasn't that good. But I found the collector's edition at like when I was game hunting one time, like a few summers ago for 360. I have like a steelbook collector's case of it.
That's awesome.
It's actually dope. Like, but part of me also wants to like paint over and make like a steelbook case for something dope that I actually want to like show off. But
right.
But yeah, I bought it for like $2, so that kind of shows you.
I just don't think it's going to happen because they're working so heavily on Sea of Thieves. Now, something I didn't really take into consideration when putting together my games for this was the fact that another IP under Xbox could take on the role of developing a Perfect Dark game. I just thought, basically like Rare's busy with Sea of Thieves, and they're busy with whatever they're making now. It's just not going to be Perfect Dark Zero. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I could see that, and it wouldn't shock me. Like, I definitely don't think they're going to go the same direction as Perfect Dark Zero, because it leaned too much into the campiness, I think, still. That's why I say, like, if we do see Perfect Dark, it's going to be it's going to have its God of War moment. It's going to have its Zelda Breath of the Wild moment in terms of, we're reinventing what this was. You've known it as this and this for so long in terms of being kind of this, it was, in all seriousness, Perfect Dark in general, the first release on N64, was the spiritual successor to GoldenEye. That was what they released it as, because Rare couldn't get the license to James Bond anymore because it went to EA. They couldn't get it, but GoldenEye was one of the biggest smash hits on that platform and of all time in terms of first-person shooters and modernized, shooters on consoles in a way. It was a big stepping stone until Halo came along and really did the twin stick and got it down flat. But they wanted to capitalize on that because people wanted more GoldenEye. Well, they don't have the IP or the licensing for it, so we can't really do that. Okay, whatever, we'll do, we'll make Perfect Dark. And that was supposed to be the answer to that, but then it evolved into kind of this, like, campy, like, spy story almost. So, what you're saying, I totally agree with, by all means. So, who would be, I guess it would be me for unrealistic. No,
it'd actually be me for realistic.
Yeah,
right?
it'd be you for realistic. You give me another realistic one.
Okay. So I'm going to go with Fuzion Frenzy as a realistic pick for the next gen. And I mean, wasn't Fuzion Frenzy designed by the defunct studio Blitz Games? Yes, it was. Yes. That studio is now defunct, which gives me hope that this game could be revived with a better iteration. Fuzion Frenzy on the original Xbox was raw. It had all the right flavors. It just didn't quite feel amazing. It was amazing for what it was because there were a few mini games that were just dope, but realistically, you can tell that there were some issues. There was bad mini games, entire sections of the map with bad mini games. Like, it was just brutal to play through the military base. It was just not fun, or whatever your favorite was, or whatever your least favorite was. And they did make a second one, and instead of just kind of like working on those stinkers and polishing it, they just kind of went a completely different direction, and we'd rather just not even talk about it. But with a fresh set of eyes and a new studio to work on this title, I think it would work. We look at Nintendo; they keep dusting off Mario Kart, Mario Party, and Mario Tennis, and people just keep lining up, handing over the 60. Yes, I'll take another, please. And even though the new ones compared to the old, like the new games compared to the OGs are like meh, people still eat that shit up. They love it. And it just goes to show with like Jack Party Box, the Mario Party that just keeps getting released on every new iteration of the Nintendo system, and people love it. Mario Kart, those types of party games I don't think are even dead. I just think you kind of need to change your viewpoint on it and attack it from a different angle. And I think that if a different company was to undertake Fuzion Frenzy and just kind of had a different viewpoint on it, I think it would do great, and I think people would love it because, you know, I think while people are in quarantine, a lot of parents might start getting back into playing games with their kids because it's like, what the hell else are you going to do? And like couch co-op and couch party games, I don't think are dead, but with the increase, like with the better net code and the better internet connection and everything, we see Nintendo's internet, meh, it's okay, but people still suffer through it. I think with like a proper net coding and everything, I think Fuzion Frenzy Online would be a really cool thing too, with ranks and leaderboards and everything. I think it'd be awesome. And I think it's realistic that we would see a game like this come back because people are going to start looking at Nintendo and seeing them dust off the same old records and throwing them on, and people just going nuts for them. And at some point you have to realize like Bungie could come back and make they could 343 is trying to remaster games. It's whatever. I'm not even going to get into that discussion because it's going to piss me off, but people are seeing these old games keep coming back and people love them. So I think eventually these game designers or Microsoft's going to have to look at this and be like, okay, let's just pump the tires back into Fuzion Frenzy and see what happens with it.
Yeah. No, and that was the biggest, you brought up the online aspect. That was the biggest hindrance to Super Mario Party that got put out on Switch. You couldn't play physical games of Mario Party online. And that was the biggest thing because that would be such a smash hit in the streaming stratosphere. Like, you would imagine, like, take a look for just example, like, how D&D has evolved within streaming, like, the culture of streaming, that you got at least a lot of people who are content creators are streaming once a week, like, their D&D session. I mean, look at Critical Role, look at all these others that, you know, from, even if you just want to put it in that, like, a non-video game perspective, like board games, which Mario Party, for the most part, it's a board game. You know, playing that online, I guarantee you'd see people like Ninja, and you'd see people like Dr. Lupo, Tim the Tatman, like, these big streamers being like, oh, once a week I'll get together with my buddies, or once a month, yeah, and we'll play this, and just on that alone would carry sales. That, like, I could see Microsoft wanting to try to push that, especially owning a streaming platform with Mixer, that, like, them wanting to do something like that, I would not be shocked. That's actually a really good pick. I definitely would have thought, like, I could see something like that happening. 100%. Absolutely. So, up next for me, unrealistic, correct, yeah. So, let me I actually just have to pull up the how this was actually developed, because there's a story behind it. Where is it? There it is. So, Microsoft at one point did this, and it was like, I think it was like 2009, something like that, which is unrealistic. I'd love to see it come back. I know it's not going to come back, but with how gamer-friendly an ecosystem, how big of an emphasis on the ecosystem Microsoft is putting for the Xbox brand, I would love to see this come back, because I think this would then yet again work for a social standpoint that Microsoft is always pushing, and that's 1 versus 100. Do you remember this at all, Mike?
I didn't play it, but I remember, like, there was a time and period where every time I signed on to Xbox Live, not only did I have 60 people online because Halo was thriving, but out of those 60 people, there'd be like 20 to 25 people all playing 1 versus 100.
Yeah, so, and there was always a chance for, like, if you play for X amount, like, if you're in there, you're part of the 100, or you're the one, like, granted, you would get, you know, kind of pulled at different times, like, you know, you had a chance to potentially get pulled to do, you know, be the one, and you could win all these prizes and yada yada, but, like, people could win, like, just being a part and just watching. You have the chance to win Microsoft points, you have the chance to win Xbox Live, and I would love to see that kind of be brought back, because then, especially if you have that as a Game Pass game, you're coming in, people doing that once a week. Microsoft's promoting that, being like, Microsoft is holding a 1 versus 100. You come in, you get in for a chance to win an Xbox Series X prize pack. Everyone who's in here has that chance, out of who's able to be pulled in here. If you're the 101 people who come in here, you have that chance to win that, no matter what, bar none.
Right.
Then if you are pulled as the one, you're winning this massive trip or whatever. Like, because Microsoft has, realistically, they're like Nintendo. They have so much money that it's not even funny. That I think that would be such a hit for them if they put it out on Twitch, or in their case Mixer. They're going to put it on Mixer as well. Put it out on their streaming platform. That is such a hit for them, because that adds in the casual audience that they're getting, because it could be played on. You don't have to, oh shit, that's right, it's 1 versus 100 tonight. Fuck, oh fuck, that's right, I have xCloud. I could just hop in from my phone. Right. No big deal. So, like, I just think that would be a total hit. I never see them going back to that, because I think there was like a game show of this, I believe. Yeah, it was an adaptation of a trivia game that I don't think that show's around anymore, if I remember correctly. But I think, like, it would just be so cool to actually try to do something like that and have this where it's still leaning into the game stratosphere, because I don't want Microsoft to kind of trip over its own 2 feet again, like it did at the beginning of this gen with, hey, it's your all-in-one entertainment. But no, this needs to be a gaming box first and foremost. This box you buy is for playing video games first and foremost. Then it has all these cool other things, but you're buying this because you want to play video games with it. So I think they're going in a different direction with that and leaning more into that, and this may not be in that area, but I think it'd be still a really cool area to kind of have, 1 foot in still, that emphasizes your ecosystem again. But I totally don't see it. Definitely don't see it. But one of my realistic ones, though, and I've said this before, and I pray, and I've even sitting here in quarantine been fucking thinking about it, because Ubisoft had to go and fucking kind of toy around with my emotions again. We have to. There's too much smoke for there not to be a fire. We have to be getting another Splinter Cell within this next console generation. Like a mainline Splinter Cell game. The last one, I think, was like 2013. That's a whole gen, for the most part, without a true Splinter Cell.
Sam Fisher experience.
Right. And I say that because Sam Fisher has been in every Ghost Recon game that's come out this gen, that he's still popping up as, an expansion or whatever. And it's like, you see people going wild over this shit, like the fans of that series who are like, fuck, I guess I'm playing Ghost Recon because I want to play as Sam Fisher. Like, I want to have that experience. And that's another franchise that you see Ubisoft really becoming such a beacon of hope in the third-party gaming stratosphere of, yeah, they still have, like, your pay-to-win things and things like that if you really want to do it, but they're games you never need to necessarily. Siege is a little bit different, that they have ops that you could buy for new seasons, but at the end of the day, it's dirt cheap to get into Siege, and if you want to pay whatever it is, $20, $30 to get the season pass, that's a whole year of content that you're getting in. I rest my case. You still are getting 20 ops or whatever to play with outside of that just for buying the game. So in terms of actually paying to win, all their games are so deep as it is that they're putting out that you usually want to go and support them. They're doing things that are consumer friendly on a major third-party development standpoint that are kind of unprecedented, that you don't see in 2020 regularly with their games. You're seeing games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey that are hundreds of hours long, and yeah, we'll put out some DLC, but trust me, this is enough to get you started. And hey, if you don't have a ton of time and you want to get through and you don't want to have to worry about grinding, you could buy a level up thing. It's $20 or whatever, but don't feel obligated. Do it at your own pace. Like, that's their approach to a lot of this that is so consumer friendly. But it just shocks me that we haven't seen a Splinter Cell because of that, because they're like, they've listened to their community. Usually they're always updating it. To me, Siege is like almost a tier 1 esport out there, and they're always listening to their community and kind of adapting it and trying to make it a place where people come and when they want to play esports games, you can come and play this game. If you want to get your competitive shooter fix, you come and get this. If you want to get your narrative driven open world experiences, come play Assassin's Creed or Watch Dogs or whatever. So it shocks me that they keep going to the well on their miss that is Ghost Recon this generation, but people keep asking for fucking Splinter Cell, and they're like, I keep hearing that there is another Splinter Cell in development. I don't know for sure. I hope. You would think. There's so many people who ask for it. I don't know. I'm getting tired at this point of doing it, of asking for it, but you would hope, but we'll see. I think there's a realistic chance but at the same time, I thought of whenever they put Sam Fisher in Wildlands, I'm like, oh, fuck yes. They're dipping their toe in the water. They're just checking to see what the temperature is. They want to see if people like this. Oh, yeah, people are loving it. We're getting another Splinter Cell. Fuck yeah. I thought that too whenever they put that in. And now when I see them putting them in Breakpoint, my hopes aren't as high. But I am staying realistic with this because they're at least acknowledging that franchise, unlike EA with Skate, where they are like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. The Chappelle Show, the Black George Bush, I don't know.
Yeah.
Run! Like, that's
Yeah, exactly.
literally EA with Skate. So, to me, I think Splinter Cell is kind of a shoo-in for next generation. It's a whole generation without Sam Fisher in it in a mainline game for a game that will sell bonkers. I find it hard not to. So, Mike, you're up.
Okay.
And these are your last ones, I believe, right?
Yeah, no, I only did one unlikely, didn't I? I've done 2 realistic and 1 unlikely.
Okay, so
I'm going to do a realistic, or an unlikely, a realistic, and then I'll finish off with an unlikely. Because
Okay.
you finished off with an unlikely.
Okay.
Or started, sorry. Okay, my realistic pick. Save the best for last for... Well, let me do unlikely because I have 2 of those left.
Okay.
My first unlikely I'm going to do... This one might make you laugh, but I think it should be done.
Let's hear it.
Hey, Rare. It's me again. Your boy. What's up, Rare? It's me again. You know that meme where the dude's like, "Hey, demons, it's me again,
Yeah.
your boy."
I love how these are like little personal penned, like Dear Diary.
In my notes, I have it bold, underlined, and italic for Rare.
Like,
So-
I love that you're personally writing to Rare.
Hey, Rare, it's me again, your boy. And I know what you're thinking. Seriously, Microsoft believed in you as a game design company. You've brought Sea of Thieves, and that's pretty cool. Have you seen what Animal Crossing has done, though? More importantly, have you seen how Animal Crossing is selling? Sure, I know. I know what you guys are thinking out there. Animal Crossing is pretty ideal for a mobile system like the Switch. Maybe more so because of the audience that Nintendo tends to attract. Nintendo has been notorious for being somewhat childish. However, Microsoft is working on an xCloud streaming service, and with that being said, they also own the rights to Mojang, which means your target audience wouldn't be that far off from Nintendo's either with owning Mojang. So I know what the podcast's listeners are thinking. They're thinking, what the hell is this guy going with? You know, he's talking about Animal Crossing. Well, who gives a shit? What does Animal Crossing have to do with Rare? You know, what the hell does Rare's intended audience have to do with Animal Crossing or a game for that matter? They made GoldenEye and Viva Pinata. What you might not know is Rare made a little game called Viva Pinata back in the day. And why I think Viva Pinata should come back is because of what Animal Crossing has done. Viva Pinata was a game that was very similar to Animal Crossing, as far as you were just a little zebra that ran around and took care of a freaking, you took care of gardens and a yard and trees and shit. I don't know. It was pretty cool for its time. And it was one of those games that after you were getting pissed off all night because of host advantage on Halo or Gears, you would kick it with some Viva. I think a combination of the xCloud service offering with a kickback game like a Viva Pinata would just be dynamite. Like, let's say they release xCloud to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And Viva Pinata is a release game that works on that xCloud service. Like, imagine basically like Animal Crossing, but on Xbox with a zebra, Viva Pinata, and all you have to do is hook, and you have like a little portable phone that you have a controller that you can just sync to. And now all of a sudden you got Viva Pinata on the go. Oh, and you go home and you hook up to your new Xbox One, or your new Xbox Series X, and it's just the graphics are sick, and you literally are playing on your phone, log off, turn on your Xbox, and it's updated. That'd be pretty sick. So that's why I think Viva Pinata should come back. As to why it's never going to come back, it's fucking Viva Pinata, bro. Like, I don't really need to elaborate on it. I'm saying it would make a lot of sense for it to come back. But the reasons why it won't come back far outnumber why it should. And everyone can pretty much, in their mind, be like, Viva fucking Pinata? Did this guy smoke a bowl before he got on the show? No, I didn't. I just think it would be really cool with how well Animal Crossing is done.
Yeah. No, I definitely... That's not a bad thought process. Like, that's not a bad line of logic to think that because of how... And right now, like I was saying, what I was talking about moments in time kind of with things. Right now, we are experiencing kind of this moment in time with Animal Crossing where the stars have aligned. It was already going to sell great to begin with already. It was already going to be a massive hit commercially and critically because that's just how the Switch is positioned right now with number of units that are out and more people gaming on that specific console and wanting Nintendo developed products. But this pandemic has put people inside and put people in this position of, I need video games to play. Animal Crossing is getting really great reviews. I can go visit my friends on there. It's not, I can play it as I want, yada yada. Like, so seeing that is really bolstered Animal Crossing in general as it is, that it's getting so much more limelight than it even would have before, and that was already a lot of limelight to begin with. So I think this is, and how hand in hand Microsoft is with Nintendo, it wouldn't shock me if, like, they came out and said, hey, we're doing another Viva Pinata, and it's like this, and you could play it on xCloud and yada, like, to mimic that of Animal Crossing, to fill that hole of that, like, town and life sim from a cartoony aspect. Like, I wouldn't, that's not that far of a leap in logic, if you ask me. And it's a IP that's still, you know, not a ton of namesake, but it's there. It's an already established IP that, you know, people 18 to 35 are going to recognize. I mean, those are the people who went and bought the 360 on day one, or wanted the 360, or gamed on the 360 in their prime in terms of gaming, like when they're probably, you know, I would at least expect putting the most time into gaming. So, but those are the people who have the paychecks who will go out there and buy these things. So that doesn't shock me. I think that's a really good pick, actually. All right. Are you up or am I up? I'm losing.
I'm up. I'm confused. I was confused, but now I'm aware again. It is back to my realistic pick.
All right.
You know what? No, I'm going unlikely back to back. I know this is going against the grain, but I'm going to finish up with a realistic.
Okay.
The unlikely pick that I have is a game pretty not actually known. I think it has more of a cult following. It's called Kingdom Under Fire. And Kingdom Under Fire 2 was just released in November, and it was after 10 years of delay, and it's an online MMO, and it's not really a Kingdom Under Fire game. The games that I'm referring to are like the turn-based strategy game that was somewhat popular in 2004 and 2005 on the original Xbox. Why wouldn't you bring back a game that has macro strategy, which you would compare somewhat to like medieval Total War? And then when you get inside of the actual battles, you have micro decisions that you make, and then it can be turn-based also. It's unlikely that we would see these returns because there's not a lot of games out there. Most of them are most of the games that are being developed, kind of like Mount & Blade Warband or that Honorbound game that came out. It's usually like first-person experiences to these macro, like major battles. But the reason why I think it would be good is just because it's been 15 years since we've seen an iteration like that from a Kingdom Under Fire game. And someone who was like balls deep in Kingdom Under Fire was your boy Marshy.
Oh yeah,
like absolutely into that game. So I think it's a game that's just, it's really fun, and I think it'd be really cool to see it come back. But it's never coming back.
Yeah, I would find it hard pressed. If anything, I see it coming to be a PC only title, or something like that. If Microsoft really wanted to grab that IP off of someone and say, hey, we're putting this out, I could see that fitting in, you know, because it doesn't scratch that direct itch of Age of Empires or anything like that, but like it still is that almost Fire Emblem-esque style game of role-playing but has strategic elements to it on battlefields and whatnot that kind of fit in with Fire Emblem. So it wouldn't completely blindside me. I would have been like, I figured a couple of different other franchises would come back before that, but it's not completely unlikely. But at the same time, it's pretty unlikely.
Right.
So
pretty unlikely. Very unlikely.
Yeah.
It'd be like a 300-1 Vegas odds.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I'm saying like, it wouldn't shock me. That's still like 1,000,000 to 1 odds that's coming.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish up with I still have an unlikely and a likely, right? I
yes.
believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So I'll do. Okay. How about this? I'm gonna do my unlikely first. Then I'm gonna do my likely, but my likely has a twist to it. So I'll start with my unlikely. Prince of Persia. And I say that because if we would have done this at the beginning of this year, I probably would have put this in my likely. But the rumors that were surrounding Prince of Persia, hey, there's a new one coming out. Ubisoft's like, yeah, we keep hearing, yeah, Ubisoft's going to reveal it during the PlayStation 5 event or the Xbox Series X event, yada yada. Like, that's going to be one of their flagship titles for later this year. Like, they came out and announced that they're doing a Prince of Persia VR title. So, and it's like kind of like an escape room type thing that they're doing on like Quest or Oculus or something like that. I can't remember, but it's nowhere near what people were expecting. I think that's what they were rumored to hear. So that may be a toe in the water. Maybe we do see something a couple years down the road. I don't know. Ubisoft's always normally outside of Splinter Cell, they're usually pretty good about like, hey, tell us what you want. Like I was saying before, like we do listen and we're giving new unique experiences and we're bringing back things that people do like, except Splinter Cell, obviously. But I'm not salty or anything. But Prince of Persia, I would have expected that. I would have put that as my realistic one whenever I was hearing those, because that is a very specific franchise that has a lot of namesake going back a long time. And I could have thought like that could have been one of those games that I'm like, okay, I could see that coming back. I could see that being realistic. I could see that filling that third person action adventure, almost like Uncharted-esque role for Ubisoft that they can then turn into, hey, the multiplayer's like Uncharted, where it's like kind of third person, almost Gears of War style. Like I could see something like that if they want to, because they got to make money off it somehow. But I think on top of actually too, they did announce that Prince of Persia was coming to For Honor too. So that's 2 games these. Maybe it is a little more realistic than I'm thinking, but I just don't see it. I don't see it, at least anytime soon. Maybe I hope I'm wrong, because I would actually like to play it. The more I talk about that game, I'd like to play it. But we'll see. My realistic one, though, I have a twist to it, and that's Banjo Kazooie. And I'm saying that because yes, there will be 100% a new Banjo Kazooie game from Rare. Rare's going to put it out. There's going to be a Banjo Kazooie game, but it will also be on Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
Write it down. There will be a Banjo Kazooie game that appears both on Xbox and Nintendo Switch. 100%. I truly believe that. I truly believe that Xbox acknowledges Banjo Kazooie's importance to Nintendo and their legacy, considering they were already like, hey, we're good with, putting him in Smash. Let's figure out a way to get him in Smash. And they did, and people love it. And the response to it has been really great. And I'm sure sales have been great, because sales of Super Smash Bros. In general has been asininely well for Nintendo. So that wouldn't shock me either. But I think Microsoft will emphasize it more as a Nintendo first party. So I think we will see it on Xbox. It will come to Game Pass, because Rare is a Microsoft-owned studio, so I think we will see it. But I think we will see it being identified more as a Nintendo Switch title. Like, people will think of it. Like Celeste, the independent game, a lot of people just kind of relate that to Nintendo Switch because it was so successful on Nintendo Switch, and most people bought that on Nintendo Switch who played it. So it's one of those things that I could definitely see that kind of being on that end, because it's a franchise that's so important to Nintendo. But there's a little caveat with that. So I think we will see one. I think it will come to Xbox Series X. I think it'll be identified as a Nintendo Switch game though, and we will see it on both platforms. That's how I'm wrapping up my picks. So Mike, why don't you kick us off with your final one?
Okay. My final pick, and this is going to be a game that is realistic to happen in the future. Maybe it's just hopefulness or God just begging for it. I'm pretty sure if you're a regular listener, you know which game franchise I'm going to go with, but I'm going to go with Ninja Gaiden. I think with the rising popularity of games like Sekiro, Shadows Among Us, and Nioh having a second game coming out, I think that we're going to be in a great position for there being a reason for Ninja Gaiden to come out. It's been proven that games with extremely difficult gameplay and boss battles with stealth elements mixed in it have been popular recently. While Ninja Gaiden never overtly capitalized on the stealthy gameplay in nature, it's definitely created a cult following that thirsts for a new iteration of this game. I think coupling one of the best heroes of all time in Ryu Hayabusa with the most powerful console of all time would create just a beautiful landscape for a proud franchise that might have had a stinker leak out at the end to make its return to greatness. And the reason why I think it's possible is because Ninja Theory kind of working on a pretty big game right now, and just maybe it's just blind faith and hope at this point in time that they would want to for some reason Team Ninja would work in harmony and make a new Ninja Gaiden game for a new console. It's just going to be unreal with the art style and everything. It's just going to be beautiful.
No, I definitely, and who's-ma-call-it had already said that, like, you know, made like, hey, we want to know if you're interested in Ninja Gaiden. Like, there were rumors going around. He was like, there isn't a new Ninja Gaiden that is in development, but we want to know, do you want a new Ninja Gaiden? We may be interested in doing a new Ninja Gaiden. You have to tell us if there's demand for it. We're open to doing it. Like, so to me, that's one of those biggest like step forwards when it comes to game development, and especially dealing on the financial end of, you know, if there's popular demand for it, that pushes the envelope a little bit farther with, like, from a developer end, that they can go say, hey, quantifiably, here's X amount of people who said, yes, we are interested in, we would buy this game, hands down, like, we'll buy this game, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of those that they can say, okay, multiply it by this much, we're thinking, you know, at this percentage, people are going to buy it, like, we could sell 2 million copies of it. We're listening, yeah, we'll fund that, you know, like, and that's always such a big hurdle that goes along with AAA gaming, that there's these great, like, cult hits that people love. Oh, why don't we get another one of those? It's because it didn't sell well, or, you know, they don't think it's quantifiable in this, you know, this demographic of gamer right now. So it's hard to see, but, you know, them being vocal enough already of, hey, let us know, because if you let us know, we'll work to make it happen type of approach, almost, without completely saying that, you know, that's, to me, such a big hurdle that they're already ahead of. So, I feel pretty confident in Ninja Gaiden for next gen of something. I mean, the Dark Souls and Souls-like titles are such a smash hit that ultra difficult, needing to memorize movement patterns and attacks and whatnot, like that, you know, it's such a heavy task to play, but so rewarding whenever you do master it, that those games are so successful right now that it just seems obvious almost that you would see another Ninja Gaiden come back. Like, it just seems too good to be true. But Mike, I think that's it for our episode this week. Why don't you tell people where you can find yourself anywhere, but where they can find you on the interwebs to play some video games, watch you play video games, and all that jazz. Talk about video games, talk about games they want to come back for the Xbox Series X.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at TOYSXLDIER. You can find me on Twitch at MP_Toy Soldier. I've been streaming a lot more lately, so feel free to swing by, drop a follow, or just hang out. Whatever you want to do, man, it's cool. I appreciate it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Travis, what about you? Where can they find you at?
As always, I am your host, Travis Wade, aka Travis, on most internet platforms, including Twitter at Travless _ that's TRAVLESS _ You can also find me streaming time to time. I'm getting back into streaming a little bit, slowly but surely. I've been kind of updating my graphics and whatnot for my stream, so been kind of waiting on that to do that, but I finished a lot of that up, so hopefully by the time this episode rolls out, we'll be streaming a little bit more consistently. But you can find me streaming time to time on twitch.tv / Travless _ same as Twitter. And if you want to play some Xbox video games with me, you can find me over on Xbox Live at Regular Travless. That's just TRAVLESS. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your newest episode of the Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversation around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show each and every Friday morning when they drop on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get a podcast at, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like, and our dope giveaways, which we have a couple planned for the coming months. So be sure to follow us on there to make sure you see those. And Mike, with that being said, that's it for our episode this week. Thank you so much to everyone for listening, sharing, and being a part of this growing community. Game on, wash your fucking hands, and we will see you next week.